Willie D Live.
What's up, family? Afrika Bambaataa, a rapper, DJ, hip-hop pioneer, and an alleged sexual predator, an alleged sexual child predator. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, I want to read to you this article. Sources with direct knowledge says that he died from complications of cancer about 3 a.m. today in Pennsylvania. Bambaataa was known in the Bronx, and he joined the local gang, the Black Spades, quickly rising up the ranks in the gang to the position of warlord. Beginning in the 1970s, Bambaataa began hosting parties where hip-hop flourished, which quickly grew to become huge block parties in the South Bronx. Bambaataa released his first single in 1980 titled Zulu Nation Throwdown, a reference to the universal Zulu Nation, an art collective for socially conscious rappers, graffiti artists, b-boys, and more people involved in the hip-hop culture. And his 1982 track, Planet Rock, rose up the ranks to reach number 4 on the US R&B chart. In 1985, Bambaataa helped make the anti-apartheid album Sun City with several huge artists, including Joey Ramone, Run DMC, U2, and many more. Near the end of his life, Afrika Bambaataa ran into a host of legal issues after multiple men accused him of sexually abusing them in the 1980s and 90s. He was forced to pay out a settlement in 2025 to a man accusing him of sex trafficking him in the 1990s after a judge issued a default judgment when he didn't show up to court. Bambaataa was 67 years old, and we can stop right there. Fam, I feel nothing. I feel nothing. Yeah. See, I have grace, I'm not this like unforgiving guy, but I think some things cannot be forgiven. I think some things you just don't give grace to. And I believe that a child predator is one of those things. Being a child predator is one of those things. I believe this way because it traumatizes people oftentimes for life. It destroys people. It makes them not trust people. It turns them into predators at times. You dig? Like, oftentimes when people are violated young, they grow up and they become violators. Just like if somebody get abused, somebody is beaten as a child, as bad as that experience was, as much trauma as it caused, it's extremely difficult to break the cycle because we're all creatures of habit and we are who we are by a process of conditioning. Pavlov, this dude was a scientist. He did a study with a mouse, mice, where he put a rat inside of a cage with cheese. Now, rats love cheese. He put a rat inside of a cage with cheese. And and he put other rats inside of the cage so that and the rats would immediately run to the cheese and they get caught up in the trap, get their neck snapped and die. So slowly but surely, the rats started resisting running to the cheese because they kept seeing the other rat get his head chopped off. Eventually, all of the remaining rats stopped going after the cheese, even to the point where they would rather starve to death than get their heads chopped off by the rat trap. That's conditioning. One could say the same thing worked on black people, a number of black people, right? It's conditioning. However you're raised, however you're conditioned to be, more than likely that's how you're going to be. Obviously, there's always exceptions to the rule. I was an exception to the rule, but there's always exceptions. But in most cases, good or bad, however you're raised to be, that's how you're going to be. Getting back to Afrika Bambaataa, he has traumatized young boys. We don't even know how many. There have some of these boys became men and they've told their stories. And I absolutely believe those stories. Because one thing is, Afrika Bambaataa, at least to my knowledge, has never denied some of the most critical claims. He never denied them. And that's one of those things, when you are a man, hell, even if you're a woman, but if you're a man specifically, that's something you do not want on your record, and you take that seriously. You take those type of allegations seriously. Somebody accused you of something like that, you got to fight. You got to fight. You got to fight with everything you got. You got to throw everything at them, throw everything at them, their lawyers, their spouses, kids, everybody gonna get it. Everybody get it for an accusation like that. And I'm talking about when you're innocent. Obviously, if somebody's guilty, they might try to fight back with that type of vigor, but it probably won't stick, right? But if you know you're innocent, it's going to be hard to be silent about something like that, right? It's going to be hard. So I absolutely believe this dude did everything that he was accused of doing. And I feel nothing for him. Yeah, he was a hip hop pioneer. Yeah, Planet Rock was a great song and he made some great music. And, you know, he led some great men, you know, they had that particular discipline structure, you know, for manhood and leadership or whatever. But aside from that, this dude's, his private life, you know, he lived a double life. On one side, he was, you know, stressing community, love for community and building, right? Black manhood. On the other hand, he's over here torturing little boys, ruining lives. We don't know how many lives he's ruined. We've only heard from a handful of these guys who said that he violated them. There could easily be hundreds, if not thousands. So I feel nothing for this dude. I mean, nothing at all. I feel nothing. I think what I do feel is something that's akin to what I'm sure I'm going to feel when Diaper Don checks out, another child predator. When he checks out, I'm popping champagne, baby. I'm popping champagne. Yeah. See, there are some people who say, well, you know, we got to separate the art from the man. And I'm, you know, and that's true. You separate the art from the person. But at the same time, when you separate art from the person, you have to look at the transgression independently. You got to look at each transgression independently. So separating the art from the man who maybe slapped his girlfriend or stole a sneaker out the store, stole something out the store, is a whole lot different from separating the art from the man who violated a baby. That's totally different. Certain things you can't come back from. Certain things that you put yourself out there, you can't come back from. Now, if you think that you can come back spiritually and become a better person, well, that's on you and God. But as far as me and my house, as far as society is concerned, that's something you can't come back on. And I believe that because I think when it comes to sex, people are who they are. Whatever it is that they like, that's what they're going to like forever. And that's what they're going to be. When you cross that line, that's what it is. So I can't give grace in that regard. I can say, thank you for your music, but at the same time, I can say, good riddance. So long. Hey, man, it is what it is. I ain't got no love for you. I ain't got no feelings for you. I ain't got nothing for you at all. Dude, you can't play both sides of the fence here. You can't say that you love the children and at the same time offer protection and redemption for those who destroy children. You can't do that. It's like saying, I support women. I support women. But at the same time, you best friends with one of the greatest abusers of women, one of the greatest women beaters, one of your best friends beat the hell out of his woman every chance he get. But you say, well, I love women. I love women. That don't add up. Man, you got to be consistent. And a lot of us don't like the idea of being consistent because being consistent takes sacrifice. That means you have to sacrifice something. So if you're going to be consistent, that means that if your friend is a woman beater, and you really love women, then you got to make sure that your actions are consistent with that outcome, right? So you got to say, you know what? If this dude is a woman beater and I love women, I got to pick a side. What side you going to pick? You can't say that's my friend and I love this dude, but I love women too, but he beating on women. Man, you got to pick a side, which means that you got to sacrifice that friendship. Somebody got to go. Something got to give. And I ain't got no problem picking a side. I have zero. And I know of Afrika Bambaataa. I met him in New York once. That was a big photo shoot in New York called, I think it was called A Great Day in Hip Hop, they named it. And he was out there. So I met him then. Had the utmost respect for him then. Today, not so much. But what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.